De Verdi, la parola all'onorevole Ska Keller.
Thank you, President. You yourself and many colleagues have looked at the challenges that we have globally, and I totally agree with them. We have a lot of challenges. We have problems, to say the least, in our transatlantic partnership. We have China rising up. There's so many challenges out there. But I would argue that more threatening than anything that the world can throw at us are actually the enemies from the inside. And they are the obvious ones, the nationalists that bring hatred, division, the racists that spread fear and hate. But there's also some less obvious. It's the decision makers that actually don't take decisions, that want to keep the status quo, who just want to keep their own privileges and who are just closing their eyes at what's at stake. And then there's partisan governments, of which unfortunately we have more and more, who use the European Union as a scapegoat for all their own failures and that are cutting away for democracy, at civil liberties, bit by bit and piece by piece. But a Europe united, a Europe that knows what it stands for, can face all external problems and can be a front runner and a shining example in the world. We can be strong if we don't make ourselves weak. And Europe has promised to its citizens to bring peace, prosperity and democracy. And those promises are still very relevant, but we need to renew them and we need to bring them to fulfillment. And on peace we have major achievements to show, but we cannot rest on laurels and Norwegian medals. There are new global challenges ahead that threaten our future and that threaten our security. And the biggest one of them is climate change. We have seen it this summer, that climate change is happening. It's happening now, and it's happening everywhere. From disastrous harvests to forest fires, there's no way anyone could possibly deny that. And the good news about climate change is that we know what to do. And the bad news about climate change is that we don't do it. But with Trump leading the US into space rather than forward, we cannot wait as Europeans for someone else to protect our planet. No, we have to do it ourselves, and there's no time to lose. And there the Commission has been way too timid in the past 5 years, I have to say. It is now that we need a very quick change to renewables and phasing out of the climate killer coal. And if climate protection truly is a priority, then it should also be a priority in the multi-annual budget. It should also be a priority in the agricultural reform. And agriculture is both a victim as well as a culprit in climate change. But farmers can also be part of the solution. And here is where the Commission should have been more ambitious with the agricultural reform. The European Union has also always promised prosperity, but we are far away from the AAA rating that we should have, I agree, on social policies. And the austerity imposed on member states in the past without regards to consequences and also without regards to whether this would actually help anything, that has seriously undermined the European promise of increasing living standards. But increasing the quality of life, that's not just some minor thing that you can forget about. It's an essence of policy making. And we need to renew this promise and build a social Europe. And one not just of nice declarations like we've seen from Gothenburg. We need not just nice intentions, that's all very nice, but we need a social Europe with real facts and real figures. We need common minimum social standards in Europe. All citizens must get full access to social protection, to housing and to medical care. A framework directive on adequate minimum income schemes can create such a safety net as well, and here it would be very interesting to see a proposal by the Commission so that we can ensure that safety net for everyone and not just for a lucky few. And Europe has promised democracy, rule of law and civil liberties to all its citizens. And that was a very strong call for all the countries that wanted to join, for all the people living under dictatorships who were being deprived from freedoms, like the country where I myself was born. And our continent has a long and bloody history of oppressions, of tanks rolling against protesters, of people suffering in prison camps. And it's only thanks to those courageous people who were marching for freedom, who were marching for democracy, who did not give up, that today in the European Union we have that democracy, we have those civil liberties, and we have freedom. But those very big successes, they are under threat. And we need to fight for them again every single day. Because inside Europe, today, judges are being dismissed, corruption is being legalized, newspapers are closed, universities harassed, and civil society treated as criminals. And this is not a detail. This is a threat to all of us. And again, today as well, courageous people are standing up, marching for human rights, their own rights and the rights of their neighbours, and they're marching for freedom, be it in Sicily or Romania, be it in Chemnitz or be it in Pirin. And they defend democracy, they defend humanity, and they defend Europe. And we see as well that if we stand up together, then we really have power. Then we are really strong together. And I think more now than ever, it is now the task and responsibility of all of us to take a stance, to take up all of our responsibilities. We have responsibilities. You as President of the Commission, we all as members of the European Parliament, but all Europeans from north to south, from east to west. Because if Europe loses on democracy, then it will lose itself. And this is about more than about one country or another country. This is about the achievements on this continent that so many people have even died for. This is about our true self, the true self of Europe. And it is time to take a stance. Thank you.
Please, we need to respect the timing. A nome del gruppo confederale Sinistra Unitaria Europea Sinistra Verde Nordica, la parola all'onorevole Zimmer.
Vielen Dank, Herr Präsident. Herr Juncker,